I'm seeing an increasingly large number of rescue dogs, hearing about cases from abroad, and you kind of don't really think anything of it. But the more you hear about people with their new dog and it's just come from abroad, you kind of start totting it up in your head. Well, how many have just been imported? And people are saying they're getting them from Facebook. They have a very high turnover. The pet rescue centres have a huge turnover on Facebook. And so you've got to start asking questions really about the way the animals are treated. Is it deliberate to generate business? And are we at risk as a species from the amount of dogs being bred for abuse, for profit, and the likelihood that they could possibly be deliberately used for bioweapons, for biological transfer of diseases, inventing new viruses and diseases in laboratories like what China did already, and injecting them into these dogs that people feel sorry for because they're being abused, which is deliberate to get profit. As Gemini clearly points out, it's premeditated, and they get a lot of advertising, they get a lot of profit from it. All right, a lot of that profit goes back in, it goes to vet bills and things, but these pages on Facebook have a huge turnover, and adverts on YouTube and things. So I'm quite shocked about this really, because the UK is being taken over by dogs, for one thing. All the bins are usually full up with dog poo bags. It's the right state. There's dog poo everywhere. And there's more and more people with dogs. And you're finding that they're all being shipped over. They're all getting here. That must cost a fortune. And it's premeditated. It's a business. They do have diseases that can be transferred to humans. So that is the quite worrying, really. Once these diseases get transferred to humans, it becomes a pandemic, because it sounds like you can't get rid of it. It's a bit like Lyme's disease, which I've got because of the pressure I was under, the legal abuse, the systemic abuse that I was under, because the institutions, the authorities and the legal system became a parasite. So that was reflective in my life, that I then attracted, so I've got Lyme's disease, which has been very difficult to keep under control, and it exasperates everything else. So these dogs can pass on diseases, all kinds of parasites, through their saliva and in their fur. And it's a bit worrying really, because we don't really know. Science doesn't really know yet. There's things being bred like COVID, that was bred in a laboratory. COVID was real. Anyone that's had long COVID or COVID, they know it was real. It happened. I had long COVID. I had COVID. I know it was real. It wasn't just an imaginary thing. The true COVID was the cover-ups. It was the cover-ups, but that caused the suppression, you see. It's a rubric. So the suppression is the cover-ups, the coviding, and the trafficking, the false timelines for the exploitation, transference, so that conservatives can maintain their power. So it's created by conservatives for conservatives, and it was premeditated years ago. Well, the same thing is likely going to happen with our canines. It's very, very worrying really, that they do carry these diseases. The coronavirus factor. Dogs do have their own specific coronaviruses which cause respiratory upset in puppies. So some don't affect humans and some do. Some can leap. So just like COVID-19, which is widely understood to have jumped from wild animals to humans via a crowded animal market, the unregulated international trafficking of rescue dogs mirrors the exact biosecurity failures that trigger zoonotic leaps. So likely the next pandemic could potentially be canine based. You know, it might not, it might be something else, but it potentially could be a pandemic because we are being taken over. The statistics, the amount of dogs entering the UK from abroad is shocking, and the fact that they are bred deliberately to be abused so that people in the UK feel sorry for them. They feel sorry for them, so they buy these dogs. They send money, they get these dogs over, and the pages profit from it. Meta profits. There's advertising, meta profits, and everyone profits, everyone gains something out of it, which is wrong. It's a bit like PASS, you know, the pandemic of the children at the moment being deliberately abused by the abuser, and the good parent gets abused or murdered, and the bad parent inherits the house, you know, gets things, gets its transference. And so it's all kind of part of the same thing, really. And they deliberately abuse their children for sympathy and profit, scapegoating. So let's not cross that over. So this is about dogs. So we'll leave that there. It's a very interesting read, and it's very, very shocking. Multiple dangerous diseases and parasites can be transferred directly from imported rescue dogs to humans and children. It's very, very concerning, especially when the amount of dog poo that's everywhere. It's in the sea. They do it in the sea. It's all in the bins overflowing. People don't even put it into the bin. They just leave it on top or kind of leave it half hanging out. You know, that's how bad it is. And they do get parasites and worms, you know, and this is why it should be bagged up and disposed of in an incinerator in a separate bin from the rubbish. You have to put your rubbish in the bin that's got dog poo half hanging out of it. It's really disgusting. And of course, dogs just kind of urinating all over everything. But then the majority of British bred dogs, don't have this problem. So this is the imports, and they often tend to be those dogs that look quite human. You kind of worry, you do wonder what that's about. How have those dogs been created? They have very strong human traits, don't they? Their features are very human. They behave almost human-like, and it's a bit worrying how they've created those, really.